to say a few words about the Haham. He probably has a better idea of the history of the Haham, his life, where he lived, more than any one of us. I can personally say that I was privileged to be with Rabbi Assayag in Tetouan, Morocco, 5 years ago, and we were at his kever, and honestly, I can personally say it would not have been the same if Rabbi Assayag was not with us. It would have been, I'm sure, inspirational, but certainly not near the amount without Assayag. So I'm going to ask him to share a few words of chizuk for us. The Chabad Rabbi.
Thank you very much, David. First of all, thank you for organizing these Hilulot and Bakashot. As you know, one of my first moves in the community 35 years ago was to re-establish all this. It was already getting forgotten. We were too many years already, and even in certain parts of Morocco already in the latter years, they were lax in continuing these wonderful minhagim that we had, and it was very much a focus of mine to re-establish the Hilulot and eventually the Bakashot. Baruch Hashem, we're zocheh to have a whole round table of hazanim that know the Bakashot, that can teach the Bakashot. It's a wonderful, like the accomplishments, you have no idea. I want you to know. You have no idea what an accomplishment it is to be in Canada and to be able to have these evenings that even, as I said, even in Morocco we were losing them. And to be able to bring it back together. If our grandparents saw this, they wouldn't believe it. They would tell us in Canada you're going to sit and sing Bakashot. Hawaii, that you should say, okay, you go to synagogue on Yom Kippur, I'll be happy, right? Well, what more than that? But Baruch Hashem, you see that Kadoch Baruch Hu gives us Yata Tishmaya. He gives us a lot of help, and we were able to reach levels in this community that were never dreamt of, and tonight is one of the wonderful examples. So thank you to all the hazanim. I know that you worked hard. My BlackBerry ran out of space from all your emails. I said, Baruch Hashem, the hazanim have time. They can write emails and emails. So, yeah, at least you worked. You put yourselves together. And thank you very much for all your efforts. Tizku l'shanim rabot, ne'imot v'tovot, you should do it. All of you. Speaking about the Yitzhak BenGualid, Zechuto Yagen Aleinu, is a difficult task because of the fact that the level of anivut that he had allowed no room for publicity. He was a very short man in stature and very much so hidden in his spirit also. And his effect was worldwide, a worldwide effect for generations and generations. Still today, we still use his sefarim that he wrote for many, many special dinim that he had. Till today, his name is remembered. Perhaps today, the fact that there is a campaign to make his Hilula in Tetouan every year, as this year too, you see that there is Techiyat HaMetim. You see that all that was difficult to even think that one would get to these kebarot so easily and so freely. We have a big zechut. We have a big zechut to go and to stand by a kebar of a tzaddik as such that had a kedusha that everybody that knew him expressed. It's okay, let me say first Dvar Torah, and then I want to tell you something that always fascinates me with the Yitzhak BenGualid, in the way Kadoch Baruch Hu run his life. It says in this week's parasha, "Ve'ata akrib otecha et Aaron achicha." Yeah, Kadosh Baruch Hu tells Moshe Rabbeinu, now take your brother Aharon, bring him closer, bring him close and present him to be the Kohen. So in short, the Midrash tells us that Moshe Rabbeinu was troubled by the appointment of Aharon to be the Kohen, Aharon and his children. This was the very special service of the Beit HaMikdash that the Kohen had to perform. And he wanted to understand Moshe, how he missed on the opportunity, how this opportunity was given to Aharon and not to him. So the Midrash says that Moshe Rabbeinu at that moment, he said the pasuk, "Lulei Toratecha sha'ashuai az abati be'onim." Were it not because your Torah is my hobby, yeah, I would have been lost in my oppression. So the Midrash explains that when HaKadosh Baruch Hu saw that Moshe Rabbeinu was troubled, HaKadosh Baruch Hu told him, "What are you troubled? I had a Torah with which I built the entire world. Every detail of the world, everything that you see in the universe, it was all in the Torah. This Torah, Genuzah, Hamudah, a very special Torah I had. Venatati lecha, and I gave you this precious gift, I gave it to you. And I didn't feel bad that I gave it to you. It was your time to come. It was your time to be the leader. It was your time to be the bearer of this Torah to Am Yisrael. And when that time came, I gave up on this precious gift that I have, and I gave it to you. And the people asked, Daber ata itanu, speak to us. The people wanted you to be the leader. And now it's the time of Aharon to be the leader, because you're much too above. You're much greater than Aharon. And it's time for him to go and do this avodah. Moshe Rabbeinu said, "Lulei Toratecha sha'ashuai," if it wasn't because of what HaKadosh Baruch Hu said about the Torah, as abati be'onim, I would have been lost in my pain of not getting the kevuna. And that's the reality of it. Leaders are appointed to the second. To the second. We see David HaMelech and Shlomo, the father and the son. And what could the father enjoy more than have his son follow him and be the leader in his stead? What could be better for a father? Like David HaMelech asks HaKadosh Baruch Hu, give Shlomo HaMelech more time when he wanted him to die on Shabbat. You know the story. David HaMelech told HaKadosh Baruch Hu, I don't want to die on Shabbat. I'll die on Friday. And let Shlomo HaMelech be king from Friday instead than begin his kingdom on Shabbat. One day, give him an extra day. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu told him no. But this is a father who's happy to give that extra day of life to his son. To be the king of Israel, there's nothing more than he would love. He doesn't feel shortchanged. He doesn't feel that anything is taken away from him. Kadosh Baruch Hu says that one leadership, I will not quote you the words, but the translation is one leadership cannot touch into the next leadership, even kehut asara, even as thin of a time limit that is measured with a hair. A second cannot be touched. The time comes for that leadership, that's what happens. This is one of the phenomenal things with Rabbi Yitzhak BenGualid. He lived in Tetuan, a city that had a tremendous degree of kavod for Talmidei Chachamim, and a city that had many Talmidei Chachamim. People learned Torah. People devoted their time to learning Torah. It was a small town. Perhaps that helped. It helped that it wasn't international, that it wasn't all the attractions that can move away a person from Torah. And we're talking 150 years ago, 160 years ago. We're not talking about time. Yeah, I mean he passed away 140 some years ago. So we're talking about a couple hundred centuries. You can imagine the kedusha that there was, the Talmidei Chachamim that they were. Yitzhak BenGualid was one of the simple Talmidei Chachamim, Ke'ilu, right? He was, and only in his 50s, when he was already 50-some years old, that's when he first became the Dayan of Tetuan, after much running away. As you know the story, I've said it before, that he ran away for many months to Gibraltar, so they shouldn't ask him to be the Haham, because he didn't feel that he was worthy of the position. And as soon as Rabbi Moshe Nahon, Alav Shalom, died, that he was going to they started hearing rumors that they were coming to him to ask him to be the Dayan. He picked up and left to Gibraltar, and it was the same community. The Gibraltar and the Tetuan community were the same, and he took himself away thinking that they would let him go. But that was not the plan of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. His time had come, and he made a tremendous impact in the world. And along this line of HaKadosh Baruch Hu appointing a leader at a specific time, like Moshe and Aharon, and then Yitzhak BenGualid, and every leader that we'll ever have, yeah, there's something fascinating. He decides to go to Eretz Israel. He decides to move in the middle of his tenure, yeah, as the Hacham of Tetuan. He decides to take the long, extended, difficult trip to go to Eretz Israel. And he does it. He does it against the will of the community, against the will of the people. Again, we remember what time we're talking about, a couple hundred years ago, 50 years ago, when he did, how difficult it was a trip. And how a person could even entertain such an idea. You know, like today we complain, you know, we're going to Israel, 12-hour trip, it's so long, it's so difficult to sit on the plane. Eliezer, you should know, right? People complain. You know, can you imagine what we're talking about? I mean, just to get to any normal place, to get a ship, was a job. And he moved to Eretz Israel. He actually established a yeshiva in Haifa. Can you imagine? You know, like he was serious. He was serious. He made the trip and he went. The yeshiva maybe still exists. It's called Beit HaLevi. The yeshiva that Yitzhak BenGualid is, because there is a famous Levi family in Gibraltar. Yeah, friends. So they commissioned him to open the yeshiva, and he called it Beit HaLevi. And the year after he came back, nobody knows why, what, but I'll tell you what I think. You know, I mean, it means nothing. I'm telling you, it's just a theory. Don't think that I know anything or I understand anything. I have no idea what happened. But when I see what was written about him by the Chachamim of Eretz Israel when he was niftar, I believe that Hashem sent him there so he can meet all the big tzaddikim of the time, all the Chachamim of the time. They should know who he is, and he should go back. Because the whole thing there makes sense. The whole thing didn't make sense. It took him longer to go than to come and to this. Why? Like, for what purpose? But you know what? HaKadosh Baruch Hu does that. Takes a person in a small town, yeah, hidden between mountains. You know, Tetuan is covered by mountains. Yeah, very, you know, it's not seen. You can't see it, you know, unless you arrive. You're there inside, you know. And to take this person and carry him all over to Eretz Israel, and we don't know who he met, who he didn't meet, until he died. When he passed away, you see the espedim of every mekubal in Eretz Israel, from Tzfat, from Tveria, from Hebron, from this. He went to the tzaddikim, he traveled to the kivrei tzaddikim, he met the tzaddikim of the generation, and in his thoughts that he was going to stay there, whatever happened, and he went back to Tetuan, and he's buried there, as we all know. You see, this concept is very important. At the end of the day, it's the Torah that is the light of a person. It's the Torah that takes a person away from any difficulties. There is no difficulties when it comes to Torah. Torah opens the doors. Torah gives you a certain perspective, a certain vision that you cannot have with anything. the feeling that Torah gives you, the emotions that Torah gives you, logic cannot give you. If you're logical, the logic thing would be to tell them, Yitzhak BenGualid, you were around so many years, you didn't have a position, you lived in the worst poverty possible. You're 50-some years old, they just gave you a position, stay home. We would all give him the same advice, don't go anywhere at this time. And when you're old, when this is when you're going to start a new life, to begin. The Torah has a different perspective. Man has a different vision. A person disappears within the troubles that we live. We have to understand that. We live in a troubled life. There's a lot of complexity in our lives. And how do you remove yourself from that? How do you elevate yourself? How do you keep a focus that is not always down in the problems? How do you keep a focus in somewhere higher where there is a vision, there is a belief, there is faith that you're going to do better, and take such strides, giant strides? It's only if one has to. When you have Torah, you live in a different planet. It's a different planet. The world doesn't look the same from that planet of Torah to the planet that we live in. It's a totally different planet. The expression of man is totally different. The understanding of man is different. And this is what we have to learn from our tzaddikim. This is what we have to learn from our tzaddikim. This was not a man, a jet setter. You understand? This was not a man that loved to travel the world. This is not what we're talking about. You understand? He wasn't, he was a Talmid Haham who sat in the Beit HaMidrash and knew nothing more than the 2 or 3 streets of the Chuderia of the Dwan. That's all. And Gibraltar was not any better. You understand? Today it's big in comparison to what it was then. Another street. So that's what he knew in the world. But the vision was totally different. And the Kadosh Baruch Hu directed him. He left an impact that you sense the Kedusha as you come to his kever. The Kedusha has never removed itself. I don't know. I say it, perhaps I repeat myself, I say it year after year, but it's an impact that it has on me. Years that we went to the kever, my dear friend Armando and I, there were times that we went from Spain for the day to the kever and come back. Just the one day, not even sleep over. The Kedusha that you see, that you sense there, is from another world, And really, when I go up that cemetery in Tetuan, which is on a mountain, I feel I'm in Tzvat. It's the same feeling. Yeah, Rabbi Eyal, you were there also. Yeah, the same feeling. The same feeling as you go with Tzvat, with so many tzaddikim. Yeah, we don't know everybody that is buried. I mean, we know that there is a tremendous amount of history because the entrance of the cemetery, the tombs, they're totally different. And they're known as the Castellanos. These were the Begorashim that arrived. They were buried at the entrance. So you see that you're talking about history of hundreds of years. The whole entrance of the cemetery is the people that came from Castilla, the Begorashim. And you go up the mountain, and you feel you're in another planet. You feel that you removed yourself somewhere higher, where there is no physicality. You sense the tzaddik, you sense him there, present, as if he were alive. And you can imagine, if this is when he's buried, hundreds of years buried, can you imagine when he was alive? Can you imagine the kedusha that shone from the face of this tzaddik? Can you imagine he was certainly, if you wanted to see the closest to a malach, this was the closest that you could see. So we have the great zechut to get together. It's one night, a few hours, and to be able to celebrate with the tzaddik, to be able to remember him, to be able to talk about him, to be affected by him. Any small effect that he leaves with us, it's a spark of his kedusha that stays with us. And this is the big zechut that we have. Let's not underestimate what it does to us. Let's take advantage of these opportunities that we have, whether it is the Hilulot that connects us to the tzaddikim, whether it's the Shir Yedidot that makes us famous in the world. We speak about Bakashot, and you know what, it's a Sephardic term. worldwide. All the Sephardim in the world had Bakashot on Shabbat morning, Friday night, whenever, 2 o'clock in the morning. In Yerushalayim, Bakashot are rampant in the Yerushalmi themselves. But when you compare the lyrics, when you compare the music, when you compare the richness of what we have, you can't. I'll tell you with all due respect, I laugh with them. So once I spoke about it in public and they were all Moroccans, I asked, is there Yerushalmi here? Because if not, I don't want to say it. But I said, you can't compare. You can't compare what we have. I want you to appreciate what we have. I want you to put your efforts in teaching this to our children. Those that are interested in continuity, think of what continuity is going to bring us. What is it that we want to spend our time and our effort and our money to bring to our children? What there is in the streets, what there is in